Welcome to the Dork Forest. Jackie and her pals will never bore us. Shameless confessions
about our obsession
will make us laugh and smile. So let's explore the Dork Forest and dork out for a while.
Hey, this is Jackie Cation, your host of the Dork Forest. You know the websites, JackieCation.com, DorkForest.com, TheDorkForest.com. If you like a determiner, FamilyPetAncestry.com brings you to JackieCation.com. It's good times, you guys. Anyway, let's do the credits. Mike Rickberg's composed and sang that song you just heard. He sings with his wife, Sarah. He will sing again at the end of the program, the Mexican Hat Dance. Vilmos fixes JackieCation.com, and Patrick Brady's going to fix this audio. So that's credit where credit is due. JackieCation.com has many things, as does DorkForest.com, but Jackie Cation has the merch page. So if you were to want a CD or a DVD or a t-shirt, you got to go to the store page on JackieCation.com. There's Ranger t-shirts and CDs and DVDs. My new CD will come out the first week of March digitally, and then the end of March, hard copies. So hope you are looking forward to that. There is an Amazon banner and an Amazon link on both Dork Forest and Jackie Cation. And all that is it's a portal into Amazon. You order like normal, and then the Dork Forest gets a kickback. So if you want to give to the show and you order from Amazon, that's one simple way to do it. You don't get charged extra. You just use the portal, the Amazon link, on Jackie Cation or to the DorkForest.com, and you just order like normal. Other than that, there is a donation button. If you enjoy the program and want to donate, feel free. Knock yourselves out. There's a PayPal button. You can donate monthly. If you like, $10 a month makes a super fan because it's 10 months and then 2 months when I ask you to donate to a food bank. Or you can donate all at once, or you don't have to donate. Don't worry about it. Just tell people about the show. And other than that, my calendar is on JackieCation.com, where you can see where I'm doing stand-up comedy. I am doing stand-up comedy in Los Angeles this week. So that's the exciting news with that. This is a great episode. You will enjoy. Hey, it's Jackie Cation. I'm in my living room with a rando setup because of my kitchen still being a disaster and me being lazy. But I'm here with a genuinely comedy friend from Minneapolis back in the day, Mr. Greg Fideler.
How's it going?
It's good. Welcome to the show. We've never been on.
This is my first time doing your show.
11 years later.
Which is great because I thought I was going to have to put the tile down when I got here.
You are from Minnesota. You've got the chops.
I walked in the door, and the only thing I could possibly contribute to this situation has got to be some type of manual labor.
Did you see? You did see because I showed it to you. Isn't it a nice design Andy made for the kitchen?
It's fantastic.
It's a nice sort of. It looks 50s and wacky, right?
It does. It reminds me of a deck of cards. Look at the diamond shapes.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. Yeah. And why wouldn't it? Because it's a game, a deck of cards. And, we did a Deadpool. That's not a bad idea either. We did a Deadwood LARP, live action role playing game. And everybody who played in the game, they'd show up in costume, dressed like it's essentially just cowboys and Indians, right? So they'd show up dressed like cowboys from Deadwood. And then Andy would give each of them, had individually made them a deck of cards that would be their currency for that game, based on their character. Like if you were a gunslinger, you had a lot of clubs, because clubs are clubs. If you were the banker, you had a lot of diamonds, right? It's a simple, he didn't think it through. I mean, he didn't try to make it harder than it needed to be, is what I'm saying.
I remember that. I remember when he explained that to me.
Yeah,
pitched that to me, but I could not be there that night.
Greg Fideler, stand-up comic in Minneapolis, been working on The Soup and he wrote for Leno and comedy writer, funny, genuinely humorous gentleman that I've always enjoyed. Here's my question. What's your dorkdom? What are we going to talk about?
Motorcycles.
Yes. I'm so psyched when you said it the other morning at breakfast. I was like, I've never had a motorcycle dork on before. And you, I know, have owned several motorcycles.
I've owned several motorcycles. And
have you always, as a child?
Yes. They
are pretty cool.
They're pretty cool. It's, they're one of those things that whenever somebody walks by a motorcycle, they have to stop and touch it and sit on it
if they're allowed.
Until you come back, and then they'll jump off. But they'll always ask you questions about it. They're one of those things that are just fascinating.
Have people just, you've come back from like going to the store or a restaurant and someone's sitting on your motorcycle?
No, I've never caught anyone doing it, but I know people do it.
I know it's
I've
tempting.
seen people do it. It's like a drum set. No one can walk past a drum set in a room. You're going to sit down and you're going to start playing it.
Or at least tap it.
Yeah, and I mean, I've spent enough time on the sets of television shows that if there's a drum set or a gun on set, people are going to walk by. They can't walk by. They're going to stop and they're going to pick it up and they're going to play with it. And motorcycles are the same way. So many times I've come out of a store or whatever, and there'll be someone just staring at my bike. And it could be a middle-aged woman. It could be a little kid. It could be an old man.
Yeah.
It could be a young guy. And they'll just start asking you, questions about it.
What kind of, is it a thing?
Yeah. People are fascinated by motorcycles.
They are. It's, mostly, I think, because of how dangerous they are.
Yes.
They look super fun.
Yeah. And here's the thing that I've learned about motorcycles. Yeah. They're dangerous. And it's because the training that we have is inadequate for them. And really, we just have a really casual attitude towards motorcycle riding in this country and probably everywhere. If you've watched the videos from Asia of the
I'm pretty sure
people on a little scooter going up the side of a mountain,
they will just give you a motorized bike in the world.
Yeah, we just don't take it very seriously. It was in the 80s that someone finally did a study on motorcycle accidents to try to determine why they happen and how dangerous it is. And that study was done out here by a professor from the University of Southern California.
Okay.
And the study is called the Hurt Report, which I thought, what a great name for a motorcycle report about accidents. But it turns out the guy that did the study is Professor Harry Hurt.
Harry Hurt.
It's just
I was
going to
say that's his name, which is hilarious. Yeah, that's ridiculous.
I thought they were being ironic, but the guy's name is Harry Hurt.
They're being literal. It's that's funny. My mother was killed in a motorcycle accident when
that's not
72.
funny.
No, well, it is actually.
It's ironic. And
I have milked it. Weird. I have milked it for the comedy that I can.
Yes, I've been a witness to this.
But yes, and but it's interesting that they waited so long to do the study, because the 80s. A lot of people were killed before the 80s or whatever. Because I remember when I was a kid, you'd meet these. There was always like, yeah, you hear what happened to Bud? And you're just like, he's in a wheelchair. And you're like, yeah, so the people aren't, because what does it do to get to get a license?
You need to take a written test and you need to pass a test, but this is probably.
Are they on the back? How do they, how do you do a driver's test with a motorcycle?
Well, the driver's test comes from Southern California. It comes from the California Highway Patrol test. It was invented. Somebody did a skills test, and the test that I took in Minnesota, the first time I got a license, is based on the CHP test that you take out here.
Oh, okay.
And what you have to do is you have to drive around some cones in a parking lot.
Oh, with nobody else around, just you and some cones?
Yeah, and there's some other things you have to. There's some little things you have to do, like you have to get up to about 25 miles an hour and then show that you know how to brake. But
that's the whole thing.
The whole thing is, I guess, proving it's very hard to steer a motorcycle when you're going slow. There's two ways that motorcycles steer. There's the fast way, like when you watch them racing and you lean over and you go around corners. And there's the slow way, like when you're riding a tricycle and you have to actually turn the wheel to make the wheel turn. The slow way is the hard way to drive. And I think maybe what they are getting at with the skills test is
they want to make sure.
Yeah, you don't learn how to go slow until you spent a lot of time on a motorcycle.
Interesting.
Yeah, go get like a 700-pound Harley and try to do a U-turn in a parking lot. And that is that's actually on the skills test. One of the things that you have to do is make a U-turn within a standard parking space. It's very difficult to do on a motorcycle.
So that's good. I mean, because if you can do that, that means you've spent a fair amount of time.
Yeah.
So do you get like a learner's permit?
You get a learner's permit. And when you have a learner's permit, you can't ride at night, you can't ride on the freeway, and you have to wear a helmet. Helmet laws are not standardized across the country.
Yeah.
That's just another That's just an American thing. You know how we are about that, where in
State to state, states'
Arizona,
rights, states' rights.
Right up to the border, and then you got to put your helmet on when you come into California.
Yeah, Wisconsin, they're like, no, you weren't using your head anyway, so don't worry about it.
Well, here's an interesting story.
Okay.
California has a helmet law because of a gentleman named Gary Busey.
Oh,
You're
really?
familiar with him.
Wait, the helmet law is because of Gary Busey?
He advocated the helmet law back in the late 80s after he had an accident.
Okay.
So your helmet law was made by probably one of the most irresponsible motorcycle riders in the history of the world. I read this in People magazine, so it's probably 80% true.
Right.
But what he did,
might need a second source.
Yeah, what he did was he didn't have a license.
Okay.
He wanted a motorcycle. He had a bunch of money. And this is a kind of a common thing that you hear about with motorcycles. He went down to a dealer down in Culver City that was a big Harley dealer, and he said, I got to get this. It was like some special soft tail they just started making. He said, I want it as fast as I can get it. So they ordered it for him. It comes in on a Sunday, and they're not open on Sunday. But one of the salesmen says, well, you're Gary Busey, so I'll come down and I'll open up the store for you, and you can have your motorcycle. So he goes down there. They give him the bike. He waves goodbye. He drives it off the lot. He makes it about 2 blocks. And he dumps it.
Oh yeah.
And that's how he hurt himself.
Oh, so just 2 blocks from buying the motorcycle, he dumps it means that it tipped over, obviously.
Yes.
And
the
did it
guy
fall on
that sold it to him ran down and was the guy that picked him up. So that's how far he made it.
Within sight.
So this is the guy that's advising you on motorcycle safety. After he had his accident, because he was a celebrity,
right.
Oh, this guy can help us pass a law because he'll get us some publicity for it and all that.
It's interesting that they'll sell you a motorcycle without a license. But I remember my brother Russ bought his first car without a driver's license.
Don't need a license to buy a vehicle. You can buy a snowmobile, whatever it is. You can buy a gun without a license.
Well, yeah.
Maybe not a handgun. I think you need a license for a handgun. But yeah, that's you can buy it.
Yeah. You can get a shotgun without any sort of, you just walk in and walk out.
It doesn't mean that you're the person riding it, but the thing about getting a license is, again, they really don't teach you how to ride a motorcycle.
Right.
In order to learn that, you need to go to a school.
Yeah.
And the schools are kind of, motorcycle riding school is motorcycle racing school. And I think that scares a lot of people off, like it scared me off, Yeah. Like I had a hard time passing the test. But I mean, that's a whole nother thing, is you go out, you get the book, and you realize I need to drive around these little cones. It sounds easy. You try it. It's really, really hard to do.
Right.
Like, okay, I got to practice this.
Right.
Well, after I did it in Minnesota, and for some reason when I moved here, when I renewed my license to get a California license, I didn't check the box that said I had a motorcycle endorsement. Oh. So when I went to get a motorcycle in California, I had to retake the test.
Okay.
To get my endorsement. So I'm like, okay, I've passed it before. This will be fine. But in the meantime, I had bought a big, huge motorcycle. You want to take the test on the smallest motorcycle that you have. Right.
Because then you'll appear genius-like.
Yeah.
You want to follow a guy who's been doing stand-up for 2 years.
Yeah. It's just easier to take it on a smaller bike.
If you're looking to get booked, not if you're looking to have the best show possible.
So I feel like, so I'm just going to practice.
Yeah.
And luckily, I live several blocks from LA Valley Community College.
Right. Which has giant parking lots.
There's a giant parking lot. I'm over there practicing one day, and I look down and I see all these patterns painted on the pavement. And I'm like, wow, that is exactly what the test is. And I'm driving around, and after a while I realize, I think I looked it up on the internet, you can take a class in that parking lot, and that's where you practice.
Oh, okay.
But there weren't any classes coming up, and I thought, I'll just practice until I can do this.
Right.
So I'd come by every day, and I'd practice a little bit until one day there's actually a sheriff's office at LA Valley College.
Right.
The sheriff comes by and kicks me out.
Oh, weird.
I said, I'm practicing to take my test, and he said, you can't practice here. You have to leave. He kicked me out of there twice.
Same guy?
I don't know if it was the same guy. So they want you to take a test. They want you to be good enough. But if they catch you practicing.
Oh, no. Something's gone horribly awry.
Something's gone wrong. So anyhow, I go down. I figure I'm ready to take my test. I decided to take my test on Halloween.
Interesting.
So
It's probably when the appointment was available, I assume.
I think it just happened
It wasn't,
to be a
you were
Friday
like,
morning.
I want
I thought
candy
nothing
bar.
of it. I thought,
Yeah.
what could go wrong just because I want to take my motorcycle test on Halloween? So I go down to the place down in Hollywood, and everyone that works there is wearing costumes.
Okay.
Because it's Halloween. And you know how it's
Sure,
one of those
it's an
kind of
office
days.
thing. Sure.
So I pull up to the window, and I ask this woman, where do I go for my test? And she's talking to me, and I'm wearing a helmet, so I
Yeah.
can't hear her. So I think she got a little irritated with me
Right.
that I couldn't hear. So I take
You
off
were
the
dressed
helmet.
as a motorcyclist.
Yeah, I was all set and ready to go. I was dressed as as an unlicensed motorcyclist.
That was your costume.
I went home as an unlicensed
Oh, did you?
motorcyclist. So she tells me, go over there
Yep.
and park your bike.
Okay.
And I know what the course looks like because I've seen it many times. I go over and I just park my bike. Mm-hmm. And so she walks over. She's the person that's going to give me the test. And she just seemed a little bit irritated that I was interfering with her Halloween.
Interesting.
So she comes over and she says, okay, here's how you do it. You know, you have to drive around the right side of that cone, and then I want you to go through that circle, come back. If you put your foot down or if you knock over a cone, you automatically flunk. And I go, okay, can I straighten out my bike? Because I had parked it at a right angle to the first cone
Yeah.
because I didn't know. She said,
Right.
just go park your bike over there. So I
Yeah.
said, well, you know, can I straighten out my bike so that I have some kind of a fighting chance to do this? And she says, no.
Oh, so you're like, then why don't you light my
this is
$35
really-
on fire?
Yeah, there's like almost impossible for any human being to do this. She's like, you know, you got to start from where you park your bike. So I get on the bike. I make it around the first cone, but I had to swing out so wide, I run over the second cone.
Oh, and you're done.
I go around to do the thing. I come back, and she goes, well, you just flunked because you hit a cone. So I went home. And
Right.
there's another way you can get a license, and that's if you take a motorcycle safety foundation course, you will automatically get a license. But you
The
have to
motorcycle.
spend Motorcycle Safety Foundation, MSF.
Okay.
So I figure, okay, maybe I don't know as much about riding motorcycles as I think I do.
Right.
I'll spend 2 days up in Woodland Hills riding around a parking lot,
Sure.
and then they'll
And
just
give someone $200 to tell you how to do it.
yeah, and
or
then
whatever.
they'll automatically give it to me. So I went and did that,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how I got my license.
Is it a motorcycle? Was that the motorcycle racing class that you were?
No, it's not.
Okay.
That is the motorcycle safety class. It's okay. It'll teach you some really basic stuff like how not to get hit by a car.
That doesn't seem too basic. That seems
Well-
super basic, just the right amount of basic.
Yeah, it is.
Start seeing motorcycles, Greg.
You don't want to get hit by a car.
How do you not get? What's the? Is there? It's
There's
just
things
being
you can,
aware.
yes, there's things you can do to make yourself more visible to cars. Like one of them is just be predictable in the way that you ride. Like
Sure.
don't weave in and out like the classic thing you see
People
a
sometimes
large
do.
percentage of motorcyclists doing.
Yep.
Don't come up on cars really fast and then go around them. When you come up on intersections,
Yeah.
stay as close to the middle of the road as possible because it makes it, you come into someone's field of vision earlier and it gives you more room to avoid someone if they cross your path.
Okay.
There's things like that you can do. Buy a red or an orange motorcycle.
Okay.
Blue and black motorcycles are hard to see. Gray motorcycles are hard to see. So yeah, after I did all this, I ended up buying a red motorcycle, which I hate the color red, but I finally decided
You would like to be seen.
I'd like to be seen. So you can learn that kind of stuff through the motorcycle safety classes.
And what about? Are you a pretty good motorcycle racer?
I don't know.
Can you go super fast and not die so far?
Oh, I can go super fast and not die.
Okay.
But I don't know what kind of a racer I would be because racing, again, there's like 3 different pieces to this. There's like just being able to keep the bike up and being safe and
Right.
not killing yourself.
Yeah.
There's being able to really ride, and that involves knowing how to corner. And that's what you learn in racing school. And then there's racing, which is taking both of those things and putting them together when there's someone behind you trying to pass you
Yeah.
and you're trying to pass someone in front of you. That's really nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
And when I went to racing school, and just in school, there's people that will race you
Yeah.
just to be cool and whatnot. But that's when you start to appreciate motorsports, because I never cared for motorsports.
Right.
But you really develop an appreciation for the difference between going fast and racing. I don't know how I would do in a race.
Yeah,
but if you ever want to there's two ways on a motorcycle to get your target heart rate up really high. One of them is when a car makes a left turn in front of you. That's better than a Stairmaster.
Yeah.
It goes up to about 250 in half a second. The other way is get out there on a racetrack and race somebody, and it really gets your adrenaline going.
Yeah, I suppose you have to really want to, just because, I mean, there's riding for the joy of it, right? I think Dean Del Rey was talking about this at some club, comic, and he was talking about how he had always used his bike for transportation, and then finally he was like, I'm going to take the bus and the subway, and I'm just going to ride for fun again. And he said it changed his life again, just because there's, if you're using it for transportation, you just need to make sure you're safe and you get to where you're going, and then riding it for fun. I think he was talking about like riding it on the PCH and like windy kind of, like that's gotta be more fun than just trying to get through the 405. And you're like, well, everyone's going less than 35. I guess I can go between cars.
Yeah, that's where you end up. And that's where I ended up. And there's no, I just don't see the sense in riding your motorcycle to work and back. It's in Los Angeles, it's awful. It's nerve-wracking. There's just too much temptation to go between the cars, because when you get on the 405
and it's legal,
and it's all backed
if everyone's going under 35.
Yeah, you're just looking at it, and after a couple motorcycles whip past you, you're just like, why am I doing this? And you're gonna start going between the cars.
Yeah. And then you can get bumped. And then you're not wearing anything but what? Leathers and a helmet?
Yeah, well,
if you're smart?
If you're smart, you're wearing leathers and a helmet. A lot of people just, I guess, if you're riding for transportation, fashion comes into play. Like, you don't want to get to work and have to peel off a bunch of leather.
And be all
sweaty and have helmet hair, that kind of thing. And there's also people that just kind of rail against the system and refuse to buy real helmets.
Yeah.
There's a helmet law in California.
Right.
And helmets have to be certified by the Motorcycle Safety Foundation.
Oh, any helmet that you're wearing has to be a certified helmet.
For it to be legal.
Okay.
There's helmets you can buy, like when you see the guys and it's usually guys.
Usually. Invariably, it is a gentleman wearing like an old World War I.
Yeah, it looks like a
German
Tupperware.
hat.
A piece of Tupperware that your grandma used to put her candy in.
Right.
Flipped upside down.
The pointy thing from World War I that the Germans wore. I saw a guy in one of those.
Yeah, next time look at somebody wearing one of those. There should be a sticker on the back, a visible sticker on the back that cops should look for, but they probably don't.
Right.
That would indicate that is a legal helmet.
Yeah.
But people want to get around the helmet law by wearing the smallest helmet possible.
Right.
Coverage area of your head seems to be a big concern with these people, and inversely related to the amount that you're rebelling against the system.
Right.
So, yeah, people wear really small pieces of plastic on their heads, the smallest thing they can get away with. And I've never heard of someone getting a ticket for it, but it is illegal.
It's illegal.
Because,
yeah,
they're not helmets. They're not certified helmets. So, yeah, I see a lot of people that they really don't dress for the ride. And the people, well, here's the saying that you learn when you start taking safety classes is you don't dress for the ride, you dress for the crash.
Okay.
Because everybody crashes someday.
Yeah.
You don't get to pick the day.
Right.
And
so you might as well standardize your dressing.
I learned this the hard way. I got hit by a car. I was going maybe like 10 miles an hour.
Oh, really?
I'm down on Wilshire Boulevard on my way to work, and the cars are all backed up at a light, and it's like 3 lanes across plus a parking lane. I'm, of course, over in the parking lane, but there's cars parked in it because it's rush hour.
Yeah.
But there's enough room for a motorcycle. And I'm thinking to myself, I got parked cars on my right. Mm-hmm. I got a line of stopped cars on my left. Now, when the light turns green, the cars are going to go through the light, but there's no way that a car can turn to its right because these are all parked cars on my right.
Right.
And as I was passing a car, the light turned green, and I don't know what the guy was doing, but he moved out of his lane to his right, and I ran into him.
Right.
He was either going to hit me or he was going to hit a parked car.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he was like, look, I'm going to hit something, whoever comes along first. I don't care if
need
it's
to
a car
hit
or a
something.
motorcycle. And that's the last time I wore tennis shoes on a motorcycle. I still have a scar on my ankle from that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, motorcyclists are going to have scars on their wrists and their ankles and their shoulders and their knees because that's what hits the ground when you fall. So that's where you want your padding. And we're usually pretty good about taking care of our head.
Yep.
And a lot of jackets now have padding in the shoulders and the elbows, but still a lot of people wear jeans when they ride motorcycles. And denim, it turns out, is cotton.
Right.
Cotton will wear through very, very quickly.
It'll get ripped to shreds pretty fast.
It's not much better than the cotton socks that you're wearing. So,
okay.
You're going to get shredded if you're wearing jeans. They're absolutely no protection whatsoever.
So I know that you and Kylie have gone sort of like touring, right? Haven't you gone on like holiday on the bike?
We did one holiday. We went up to, ironically enough, we went up to wine country. We went up to Solvang.
Yeah.
With some fellow comedians, Chris McGuire and Tess Rafferty, who drove up there in their car. Like people.
Yep.
And we got on a motorcycle. And it was this time of year. It was January. We get up there and we're just freezing. Our knuckles are all
because it's
cold.
It's got to be a 6-hour drive, right?
I think it's like 3.5.
Oh,
well, the way we went, because we took the back way through Santa Barbara. We want to go through the mountains and all that kind of stuff. So then we get to the wine tasting, and we're standing around eating crackers while everyone else drinks wine because I'm not going to drink wine and then
get back on your bike.
Get back on a bike.
Yeah, it's hard enough to get in your car after you've had an adult beverage or two.
That's the only time we did an overnight ride. Luckily, if you live in Southern California, you can if you leave at 8 o'clock in the morning, you can take a 300-mile ride and you can be home at 6 or 7 o'clock at night.
Wow.
There's a lot of wonderful places you can go outside of L.A. The best place is the Angeles Crest Forest, which is also known as the Highway 2.
Highway 2?
It goes through the forest. It goes up through the San Gabriel Mountains. It goes up over Mount Wilson, which is 5,000 feet.
Yeah.
And that gets snow sometimes.
Yeah.
That it's high enough. That's up where all the broadcasting towers are. There's a bunch of loops that you can do around here. Just within the forest and the little places that are around the forest, Big Tahunga Canyon, Little Tahunga Canyon, and they're full of motorcycles on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
If you go out there, it's all just motorcyclists. If you're on a bike, it's motorcyclists waving at you. Because we wave to each other. Because it's something you don't know if you don't ride a motorcycle.
Right.
We acknowledge our people.
It's the nod.
Yeah, and it's this too. You pat your head when you see someone coming and there's a cop behind you.
Okay.
Waiting to bust people. You pat your head,
and then everybody knows.
If there's really any kind of danger or something, but normally,
essentially heads up.
Yeah, if you go by a motorcyclist and they pat the top of their head, that means there's a speed trap behind them. They drove past it and they're just giving you a heads up.
Well, that's nice. It's sort of like I remember when I used to do the road up in my car for 1,000 weeks. There was this whole thing with truckers that you know, like when a trucker wants to get over into your lane, if you flash your lights at them, you can acknowledge that you've seen that they need to get over and that you will not get in their way and impede their way. And then they get over and then they flash their brake lights at you. It is seconds of family fun and on a long ride through North Dakota and Nebraska. It's desperate times for entertainment. So it was great. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, I was going through Little Tahunga Canyon once, and a Beverly Hills cop in his uniform came riding back at me the other way, and he flashed me the peace sign.
Oh, nice.
Now, if I'm up in Little Tahunga, I think it was in Little Tahunga Canyon, and it's a Beverly Hills cop, he's not on duty. He just took his bike.
Right, he's not.
Which clearly is a police bike. That's how I recognized it. And I saw his badge on his shoulder when he went by, so I know he's Beverly Hills.
Right. Good eyesight,
out there
man.
Riding. Well, when you see a cop, you generally look at them. Figure out what's he doing.
Where did they come from?
Yeah, I mean, especially when you're out in the forest, because there's a lot of LEOs, law enforcement officers.
There we go.
There are police.
Yep.
There's highway patrol, and there's Forest Service officers.
Do they all have the right to boss you around?
The Forest Service officers can tell you things like things that you can't do to the forest. There's certain places you can't park, you can't drive off-road, you need permits to park, things like that. CHP can do, they
Almost
issue
anything.
traffic tickets.
Yeah.
That's what CHP does. And police, police does all
That
kind of
local
stuff.
cop?
Yeah, and then there's local cops, but you usually don't see the local cops out in the forest.
Yeah. Have you ever done any off-road? Did you ever have an off-road bike?
I did when I was a kid.
Yeah, let's talk about the actual bikes here. At some point, rangers are going to be like, "This is great. There's a lot of very, very practical information about motorcycles, but what's the toy look like?"
The toy.
Yeah.
well,
So what was your first bike?
There's two kinds of them. My first bike was a Honda 80, and it was the ugliest thing you could imagine. It was from, I think, the late 60s, and I got it in the late 70s when I was about 14 years old. It looked like a woman's bicycle, like a woman's 10-speed. It had this how most motorcycles, there's handlebars and then there's a gas tank that flows seamlessly into the seat.
Yeah.
This somehow had a gas tank that slanted down the way
so
that a woman's 10-speed, how that
It has a
differentiates
V.
the men's from the women's.
It's so that I can wear a
I'm
skirt.
not really sure where the gas went on that thing, but it was really ugly.
And is the 80 the horsepower?
No, 80 is the cubic centimeters of the engine, so it's very small.
Okay.
But it was street legal. It had a license plate on it, and
Okay.
it was kind of a community bike we had 5 boys in our family. And we all just took turns riding it.
Yeah.
But it was kind of for me because I wanted it and I took care of it and that kind of stuff. But it had this absolutely horrible suspension system. The front suspension was all worn out so that when you tapped on the front brake, it just bottomed out immediately. And there was always 2 or 3 of us riding it around.
On top?
Yeah. We rode it around in the street in front of our house back in the days when you could do that and not get sent to jail immediately.
Right. It's, wait, like 2 of you on the bike at the same time?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Like piggyback, like on the handlebars or
No,
what are we looking at?
Just one
like
person
the back
on
of
the seat, but then you can actually put, when you're, 12, 13 years old, you can get 2 or 3 guys if you cram your way in there. You can get 3 people on seat. And then my second bike, my first real adult bike, I bought a Honda CX500 from a retired Marine.
Okay.
The guy's name he was a retired general. His name was Stonheim, which I think is German for stone home.
His last name was actually Stoneheim?
Yeah, and I bought it out of the Minneapolis paper.
Right.
I see the ad. I call the guy, say, I'll come and meet you and I'll buy your motorcycle from you if I like it. And he comes riding up wearing a helicopter helmet.
What is like a spinny?
You've seen him in the movies.
Yeah.
It's a helicopter helmet. And, the conversation shifted its way towards that eventually. And he had flown in helicopters when he was in the service.
Okay.
And he simply he preferred a helicopter helmet to the standard certified motorcycle helmet, and that's what he wore when he rode it.
Did he like the sound? Thwap, 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 thwap. It made it sound like a helicopter. Well, that PTSD, it comes out in different ways.
Yeah, so he sells me the bike, and it was a wonderful motorcycle, except for one thing. He had purchased a fairing, which is the thing that goes on the front. There's, like the windshield.
Yeah.
That's just a shield. That's just a little piece of plastic. But a fairing is a whole thing that goes around, kind of makes it look like a racing motorcycle.
Like attached to like the fender? It's like a fender.
Yeah, it makes it look like a
windshield.
big fender on the front of the bike.
Okay.
And you bolt it onto the actual bike, and then the handlebars turn inside of the fairing.
Okay.
Well, he had purchased the incorrect one.
Oh.
I don't know that he really sounded like the kind of person that would do a modification to the bike and do the incorrect one. But he did, and he did it such that the handlebars wouldn't turn as much as handlebars are supposed to turn.
Well, that sounds safe. That sounds super not safe.
Well, you don't need to turn the handlebars on a motorcycle if you're going fast.
Okay.
To do that kind of a turn. But to do the kind of a turn, you need to pass your
The
motorcycle
motorcycle
safety
test.
class. I flunked it the first time because
Because you couldn't.
couldn't turn the thing enough because this guy put a fairing on the bike that wouldn't let you turn the handlebars. So finally I took it off and then I passed the test with it. And then my next adult motorcycle.
Here's my question in the middle though. This 500, is that the cubic centimeters of that
That's
thing?
the cubic centimeters. You go from 80 to 500.
Okay, so it's a lot faster. Like a Honda 80 can go what? 60 miles an hour max?
Well, yeah, probably.
And
but
then-
it's the way that you get there. That's going to take you 2 days on a Honda 80.
Okay, so it was more 35, 40 miles an hour max.
Yeah.
And then the CX 500, that's a regular street bike kind of thing?
Yeah, that's a Honda. It's a V-twin. So it's like a Harley Davidson.
What is a V-twin?
A V-twin means that it's like a Harley Davidson.
Did they invent something? What
yes,
did they do?
Harley Davidson invented the engine that has pistons that are shaped like V's.
Okay.
They go like this,
They go sideways in?
so that it
or
looks like a
at
V.
an angle?
They're
Okay,
at an
yeah.
angle. And so
That looks cool.
That's called the V-twin. It looks cool. It's got that sound, that Harley sound. There's something
Okay.
about the timing of the cycling of the piston and the crankshaft and the thing that gives it the Harley sound.
Okay.
And so Japanese motorcycles started copying that. I think in about the 60s they started doing that, and then they got really. It caught on in the United States in the 60s and the 70s when all the Japanese motorcycles kind of started to take over. So the CX 500 Honda is a V-twin. So it looks like that. It kind of it's shaped like a Harley.
Okay.
But it definitely looks like it's a Japanese version of a Harley.
Okay.
But it's not that fast. It probably went like 100 or something like that.
Okay, which is what a car will do. But no air, and no death, or different death. But so Harley Davidsons, you said that there's a certain style with them. I've only seen like sort of the chopper bikes. I mean, when I think of motorcycles and Harley Davidsons, I think chopper bikes or I think cop bikes. Because aren't most police motorcycles Harley Davidsons?
Not anymore.
No?
A lot of them are BMWs.
Okay.
And even Honda and some Yamaha now.
Okay. But they're like, it's like a fist. The cop bikes look like a box. They look like a very sort of powerful, just I'm not putting this right, but it's like a muscle, right?
No, I think that's exactly how Harley Davidson wants you to put it.
Exactly.
That is exactly how it is. V-twin, that only refers to the shape of the engine.
Right.
The rest of the
shape of the-
bike, the
Can
whole rest of
look
the
at
bike
anything.
is as you say, kind of the classic chopper, but also road bikes. The road bikes would be the ones, the cop bikes, the classic cop bike, the one that you see around LA.
Yeah.
When the retired cops are working on a location.
Yeah.
They always have old Harleys.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe it's just a generational thing, but
Right.
Then you can tell Beverly Hills rides BMW, and CHP now is mostly BMW. Although
Okay.
I think you might have your preference because I see cops on Harleys on the freeway, but
Okay, so
they
you
might
can
be
kind of-
local cops. They might be LAPD that just happen to be on the freeway.
And you get to pick, maybe. It's my neighbor Larry, my neighbor, he has a Harley Davidson, and he built an extra garage for it, and then he broke his knee because he's 70, and now he's bummed. But because he can't, because the thing is they're so heavy, right? I mean, like a really big bike is like holding up a car, isn't it? I mean,
Yes.
So how do you, like, if it falls over, how do you get it back up? You have to ask for help, right?
You can ask for help. And they teach you this at safety school. If you put your back to it,
Yeah.
like lift with your legs, sit down with your back against the seat and the gas tank, put your arms behind you, get your arms underneath it, and then
You can kind of
push
leverage.
up like you're doing squats.
Okay.
You can probably lift up the bike by yourself.
Okay.
And you'll see this if you're like me and you watch a lot of videos of motorcycle accidents on YouTube.
There's
you'll
a rabbit
see,
hole.
the people will always come running over to help pick up the motorcycle, and they always do it wrong.
Yeah.
They reach over and try to pull it up. And,
From the
and
handlebars,
it never
like it's a
works.
10-speed.
Yeah, you need
Yeah.
7 people to do that.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that you learn in motorcycle safety class. But yes, motorcycles are heavy, and motorcycles are heavier than they used to be. Like the Honda CX500 that I bought, my first bike in 1991. That was a pretty average bike, 500 cc's. It probably weighed like 400 pounds.
Okay.
Motorcycles now are much, they're basically twice that. A 1000 cc bike now That's an intermediate bike.
Yeah.
Some people would even call it a beginner bike.
Really?
Yeah. They're heavier, they're bigger, they're much, much, much more powerful.
You remember that Harley Davidson that was marketed to ladies? The Rebel or something? It was called the seat was lower because
Yeah.
if you were short, your feet could touch the ground like a child. And, do you remember that bike?
I don't remember it specifically, but it had to be one of the Sportsters because the Sportster is the smallest one. The Sportster is
I think it was a 750.
It could have been, yeah.
Yeah.
Sportsters go down, or I think they used to be that small, but there was a XR 750, which was a dirt bike that Harley used to make back when they used to race them, when they used to sponsor racers back in the day. That's the one that Evel Knievel used on quite a few of his jumps.
Oh, really?
Evel Knievel rode Harley Davidsons and Triumphs. This is just such, I mean, it just blows your mind if you've ever ridden a motorcycle and they had like motorcycles that were made to jump things back in those days.
Right.
They had the dirt bikes with all the suspension.
Yeah.
But it was just, no, I need to do this my way.
I need to do this on an old school Fonzie.
He's going to do it on a 600-pound
Yeah.
a 600-pound British motorcycle, or he's going to do it on a Harley that weighs like 550 pounds, whatever it was back in those days. And it just blows my mind that he didn't, that he did anything, that you could get the thing off the ground.
Yeah, that is crazy. Cause I've seen some of the X Games where I like the BMX stuff, but I also like the dirt bikes.
We went to, the
motorcycle
down
thing
at the OC Fair where they do the backflips.
Yes, where we got to see him do real. I forgot about that. We went to watch that in real life.
And that is just,
those are special bikes.
Those are special bikes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're going to do the whole
a backflip, you need the torque that you get, and it needs to be light and balanced and all that kind of stuff. It is absolutely amazing what you can do with a motorcycle these days. Travis Pastrana did a double backflip.
Right.
I think with a complete twist.
That's
at X Games about 6 or 8 years ago.
That's insane.
Double backflip.
Twice. 2 rotations.
2 of them.
That's crazyville.
You can do that with motorcycles now.
Yeah. It's, and I saw somebody do it on the X Games in just a little ET bike, like a little BMX bike. And obviously probably, but I was just like, you have to pedal the fuck out of just to get up. And then now you're in the air and you're like, oh, quick.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how that works, but on a bicycle, you weigh more than the bicycle does.
Right.
So, and this is what you learn at racing school. You are now the center of gravity, and more so, you're what's called the center of mass. You have the inertia. So, like when you ride a bicycle, you can take your body and you can move the bicycle around.
Right.
And so I would imagine that's a big part of doing a flip on a bicycle is basically you're doing a flip. You're flipping your body, and the bicycle is along for the ride. When you get on a motorcycle that weighs 350, anywhere up from there pounds, the motorcycle is now the center of mass.
Yeah.
Your body is along for the ride. And this is something that you need to understand, because when you go to turn a motorcycle, there is absolutely nothing you can do with your body that is going to turn that motorcycle. The only way it is going to turn is if you operate the controls, i.e. the handlebars and the gas and the suspension, so that it'll turn. And this is where a lot of people get in trouble when they don't have this training. They think things like, oh, I'm going to lean against the gas tank, or I'm just going to push really hard on the handlebars. That does absolutely nothing.
Okay.
So I think...
So it's a combination of how much gas you're giving it, how you're turning the handlebars, and what are you doing with the suspension? What's happening?
Well, the suspension goes up and down. The important thing the suspension does is it keeps the tires on the ground.
Okay.
Traction is very important when you're riding a motorcycle.
Yeah.
And when you go to corner, here's the thing. Motorcycle tires, you'll notice, are round.
Okay.
Round in both directions. Like, look at the tire on a car. It's kind of square. It has like a shoulder on it, right?
Oh, right. Oh.
Look at a motorcycle tire. It's like a bicycle tire. It's round. It doesn't have a shoulder on it. That's because you have to lean the motorcycle over. When you lean it over on the side, you're riding on the side of the tire.
Right.
So the side of the tire squishes down.
Yeah.
And that is what's keeping you from falling over.
Okay.
And that's a little bit scary for people when they think about it. But actually, it's, as far as physics go, it's perfectly fine. You actually have more contact area on the ground.
Then.
But now you can't do things like give it a bunch of gas and change the inertia or change the angle really quickly.
Yeah.
Because you're going to lose your traction.
Okay.
So you need to keep your suspension stable so that it keeps the tire pushed onto the ground.
Yep.
So that it can turn you.
Okay. Wow. I never even, tires on, and of course I'm going back to the one thing that I pulled out of that is that there is sort of a squared off lip to a car tire where it's just, there's a sort of a flatter surface. I mean, it's round because it's a wheel, but it is squared off. Interesting. I just thought I'd recap that fascinating thing that I thought was.
It's one of the things that people don't get about motorcycles. And I mean, motorcycle riders
sometimes don't get.
I think the vast majority of people who ride motorcycles don't know how to ride motorcycles.
Well, you said that you read that you ended up taking the safety class from this guy who invented safety classes.
I took the racing class.
Right.
From another thing that originated here in Southern California was this old racer, Keith Code, wrote a book.
Does he live by a code?
He does. And we'll get to that. He wrote a book called Twist of the Wrist.
Twist of the Wrist?
Everything that he learned about racing, he thought the average person who rides a motorcycle needs to know these things so that they can ride, because the most important thing about motorcycling is cornering.
Okay.
That's also the most important thing about racing. It's all cornering.
Yeah.
I mean, just about everybody's story about having an accident, they'll say, well, he went around a corner too fast.
Right. I mean, if I'm going straight, I'm going to be, I know how to do that. It's only when I turn is the world possibly going to go differently.
Right. And here's the thing that I learned there. Look at a motorcycle. The tires are round, but they're round two different ways. And this is really complicated.
Yeah.
Take a quarter and spin it. It'll spin, right?
Yep.
But as it slows down, you know how it starts to tip from side, do the wobble, and then very slowly, but it's still spinning around
that way,
both ways.
Yeah.
That's what motorcycle tires do, because they're round both ways.
Okay.
When you tilt a motorcycle so that you can turn, because it's round, it's actually the tire, when the left side of the tire hits the ground, it's trying to push it back up to the right.
Okay.
So what's happening is the motorcycle is kind of falling over it's having a fight within itself to see which way it's going to fall over.
I'm falling.
Here's the best way to illustrate that. Remember when you used to take your brother's bike when you were mad at him and you'd shove it down the hill by itself?
Yep.
It would do pretty well until it started to run out of speed. Mm-hmm. Now, as it slows down, it starts to wobble back and forth.
Yep.
And then finally it falls over one way or the other.
Yep.
That's what happens every time you turn a motorcycle. If you're maintaining a certain speed, it's perfectly stable. That's like when you say, well, I'm comfortable when I'm just going straight. That's because the tires are fighting the other side of the tire to make it fall over.
Yeah, okay.
But both sides are perfectly even in the fight, and it's keeping it stayed. It's perfectly straight up. Think about this. Have you ever watched a motorcycle race? Probably not. Well, they showed us a video. Showed us a video in racing school. And you can watch this on YouTube, like a MotoGP race. Some guy will get into a problem coming out of a corner, and the motorcycle will start bucking back and forth. That's called high siding. Okay. When you go around a corner and like the wheels wash out and you go skidding on the pavement underneath it, that's a low side. But there's the high side where you come out and the handlebars start going back and forth.
Yeah.
And then the guy's fighting it like he's on a bucking bronco. And then eventually the motorcycle throws the rider over the handlebars. So the motorcycle goes off to the side. But if you watch the motorcycle suddenly straightens itself out.
Right.
And it keeps going until it slows down enough, and then it falls over.
And then it tips over, yeah.
So the motorcycle is smarter than you are. It's perfectly stable when you're on the accelerator and the back wheel is pushing the front wheel. You're absolutely fine. So if this ever happens to you, if you ever come out of a corner and your handlebars are wobbly, or if you're riding and on a rough road with a bunch of potholes and the handlebars are getting all wobbly, don't fight it. Don't go hard on the handlebars. You're making it worse.
Okay.
The motorcycle is saying, I need to wobble back and forth before I can straighten out.
Let it wobble?
Let go, let it wobble.
Just
and
hold
it'll straighten
on.
itself out.
just ride the bucking bronco, and hopefully you will get to the other side of the potholes or
I
whatever.
trust the Japanese engineer who has staked his career sitting at a drawing board designing your motorcycle. If you do what the motorcycle tells you to do,
Yep.
You're going to be fine. But if you fight it,
You're probably going to fall off.
yeah, that's a problem. So but anyhow, so Keith Code starts this racing school.
Yep.
And you go to it and you learn all this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's all stuff that he learned, training racers. And he went through this thing where, he wrote this book and he was training all these racers and he was winning, but like the establishment, the man was saying your methods are voodoo and, you're wrong.
I saw
and
that
all this
Strictly
kind of
Ballroom movie. It was the same thing in Ballroom Dance. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So he came up with this thing called counter steering, which is another complicated thing that I can't even properly explain.
Right. So Google it.
Where the motorcycle falls over. But that the only way to turn a motorcycle is to push the handlebar in the opposite direction than you want to go. Nobody believed him.
Right.
In fact, the Motorcycle Safety Foundation will teach you that you push the handlebar in the direction you want to go.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just the way that he explained it, but it was a huge controversy until finally he built this motorcycle called the No BS motorcycle.
Okay.
With an outrigger on it, which had handlebars that you could not turn. And he offered somebody $500 if they could make the motorcycle turn,
Yep.
Without turning the handlebars, and no one could do it. He said, you can hang off the side of it, do whatever you want, but it's not going to turn unless you push the handlebar in the opposite direction that you need to go. And now everyone accepts this as a universal truth.
Nice.
So yeah, it just was absolutely mind-blowing to go to this class and learn how to race a motorcycle, because I thought, this is something I never want to do. I just want to know how to ride a motorcycle, because I had purchased a cruiser motorcycle, which is like a Harley Davidson.
Okay.
It's shaped like a Harley Davidson. It's got a big fat seat and you sit on it and it's nice and comfortable and you got your girlfriend on the back.
Right.
You got your feet out like this and
you're lounging.
You're sitting in a recliner and it's that kind of a thing and it's very comfy. And so I just felt like I wasn't really learning how to ride through the motorcycle safety class. There's not much out there for teaching people how to ride cruiser motorcycles like that. Okay. The only thing that I kept coming back to was racing lessons. And I was not a sport bike guy. I don't want a sport bike. They're stupid.
Like Ninja?
And, what would I want with a Ninja?
Yes.
So finally I said,
I knew a guy with a Ninja.
I'm going to take this racing class and I'm going to see if this is something.
Right.
Holy shit.
It blew your mind?
It absolutely blew my mind. I sold my cruiser. I've got a sport bike now. I just can't imagine everything
what kind
that
of cruiser
I know
did you?
about it.
So we left at the Honda CX500. Did you go to the cruiser after that?
Yeah, I went to the Suzuki Boulevard, which is only an 800.
Okay, but that was your cruiser, was the Suzuki Boulevard?
Yeah, that was a cruiser.
And what was your last one? The sport bike?
BMW K1200 RS.
A BMW 1200?
1200, yeah. That's a 4-cylinder motorcycle. That's got an engine in it that's about as big as the engine in a Honda Accord.
Okay, yeah.
It's 130 horsepower.
Yeah, that's
It weighs
crazy.
600 pounds.
Yeah. So
it's an incredible power to weight ratio. It's a BMW.
So yes?
Yes. Okay. Imagine, you know what a BMW car is like.
I know what BMW car drivers are like. It's brutal.
Well, there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
Imagine if BMW made motorcycles.
Yes.
They ride like their cars. They're absolutely
it's like
fantastic.
A stick of butter.
You sit in it and you think this feels really heavy, like maybe it's going to be clunky, but no. Yeah, it is just buttery. I can't tell you how many times I've been like on the freeway.
Yeah.
And just thought, well, I'm going to pass this car, and I give it a little bit of gas and I look down, I'm going 100.
Oh my God.
You don't even feel it. It just eats up the bumps in the road. They're just absolutely wonderful things.
Okay. So it's the suspension's amazing.
The suspension's amazing. It's a monoshock bike. The power is
crazy.
The power is deceptive. It's like it's German, like a BMW or a Mercedes. You don't realize it's not jerky.
Yeah.
It's just, it's buttery. You just look down, I'm going 105.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm going about 50.
So is that the one that you went on long trips?
Oh, yeah.
Like with Kylie? I mean, will you, is that comfortable enough? Like, how long can you ride on a motorcycle where you have to get off and crack your knuckles or do something?
Well, I guess it depends on the person. I usually last about 2 hours.
Okay.
Kylie has fallen asleep on the back of the motorcycle. This is actually a common thing that I've noted from talking to other people. The
passenger.
The passenger falling asleep.
And then that's terrifying. How do they not die? What's happening?
Absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And can you talk when you're on a 2-hour motorcycle?
No, it's wonderful. You cannot talk.
You're like, do you point and go, look at that skyline?
You do a lot of pointing. You have to develop a system of pats on the head for, hey, I just want to show you something, and hey, I need to tell you something, and hey, you need to stop now.
Okay.
Things like that.
Yeah.
But
or I have to go to the bathroom, take the next exit.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, because we would just ride around. We both like nature.
Yep.
We both like taking pictures. Mm-hmm. So we would just go find a landscape and take pictures of it. And again, in around LA, there's so many great places. We rode out to the Poppy Preserve. Have you ever been out there, out in the middle of the desert?
I've heard about that.
Oh, it's coming up probably late March, early April.
Okay.
It's just a sea of poppies.
Yeah. Yeah. Opium? Is that what's harvested out there? Is that legal now?
There's only certain poppies that have the opium content.
Yeah.
And I
These
don't
ones
know
are just
exactly where to
flowers.
find them. Yeah, these are just cool looking flowers.
Yeah.
But be careful because there's rattlesnakes out there.
Okay.
Yeah, we found a snake on the road.
Oof.
Not found, but drove
Right.
by him.
But
then
you
run out into the poppy field, and everyone is out in the middle of the poppy field, and you got to believe that the snake doesn't live on the road. The rattlesnake lives in the poppy field.
Right. And you're like, well, thank God I'm wearing boots. And,
again, just the mountains, the San Gabriel Mountains.
Yeah.
All the valleys that are, all the,
canyons.
The canyons. I love the canyons. I love to canyon carve.
Yeah.
Because they've got the big turns. They've got the sweepers. They've got the switchbacks. Just every kind of turn you can think of.
Yeah. That's
the mountains. The mountains are just the place to be, but I really like the canyons. You can go up and down the PCH.
Yep.
But it's always crowded.
Yeah, there's usually, I see just dozens of there's like clubs and stuff that you can, supposedly there's gangs and supposedly there's just, but there's gotta just be not gangs, right? Just like motorcycle clubs that aren't gangs.
Yeah, there's riding clubs, and you'll see them out. You see a lot of them out in Malibu. We had one behind us once. It was just so cool. We were going up Cane Doom Road, and we had pulled over for some reason. And then we just got back on the road, and we looked behind us, and there must have been at least 100 motorcycles behind us.
Wow. All
mixed up, all different kinds, a bunch of different riding clubs. And we had just lucked out that we were up at the front of it, so we looked like we were leading this procession of riding clubs all the way up that big hill if you go up Cane Doom Road.
Okay.
If you know that.
Cane Doom.
Yeah.
I love the name of it.
Malibu is very picturesque.
Yeah.
If nobody's out there, it can be a lot of fun, but it attracts all the idiots. There's a corner called The Snake.
Okay.
And you can have your picture taken out there.
Yep.
By a professional photographer who specializes in taking pictures, videos of motorcyclists taking this one particular corner.
Okay.
Which is a really important corner for motorcyclists to come by and, it's kind of the turn where you show off. So it's turned into this thing.
So it's known, yeah.
Yeah, it's a YouTube thing now. It's called rnickymouse.com.
Okay.
And he's got a drone now. He just stands there all day and videos everyone that goes by. If you drive by in a car, if you ride by on a motorcycle, if you ride by on a bicycle, you can go to his website 2 days later and your picture will be there. And you can select the picture that you want and you can buy it. And so this is where all the motorcycle, this is where you see all the guys in the leather suits of varying degrees of skill hang out. They go around the corner, try to get a nice picture. It's also, if you just have to go past this corner to get to the rock store to go hang out there. So it's a high traffic area. And so he's got this whole, when there's accidents, but they're not bad, he puts them on YouTube.
Okay.
And there was
it's not snuff films.
No.
It's just the ones that are dumb.
The ones that are dumb, my favorite one, of course, being the guy that was on like a Bergman scooter. It's a scooter.
Okay, it's just a scooter, like a Vespa?
It's like a Vespa, and the guy, he's wearing shorts.
Yeah.
He's wearing Crocs.
Oh.
He comes around the corner. He realizes he has a problem. And he does what you should never do on a motorcycle. If you have a problem, he grabs the brake and he puts his foot down. Putting your foot down does absolutely nothing except break your ankle.
Right, it can rip your foot off, I assume.
He wasn't going that fast.
Yeah.
He puts his foot down. It goes all bad. He goes ass over appetite, rolling into the gravel, into the guardrail. But the croc goes flying up in the air. And so he's laying there, and he tries to get up. And there's always a big group of people that are across the street just hanging out, plus the guy that's taking the pictures.
Right.
And you just hear this voice from off camera go, "Stay down, bro." Because he was trying to get up. But I guess that's the wrong thing to do. But no, he was not hurt badly. I mean, you get scraped up when that happens, but he may have even ridden his Bergman scooter back home. But you can spend days just watching videos of people going by in cool cars. Our Mickey Mouse, Mulholland Riders. Just like Mickey Mouse, but with an N.
Okay. Our Mickey Mouse. Got it?
Yeah. There was a famous one that was on Access Hollywood. And it made all the shows. Yep. Because there's a lot of bicyclists out there. Yep. And they insist on sharing the road with
everyone.
It's Malibu. It's
crowded.
It's crowded on weekends. And so the bicyclists are going up the hill. It's a very steep hill. So you know how when a bicycle is climbing a hill, they get to the top. They're winded. They're just barely moving.
Right.
But he's all the way over on the shoulder.
Yep.
This guy that apparently did not take the motorcycle racing class comes up around the corner. There's really no problem. There's plenty of room for him to go around this guy on the bicycle, but he must have done something that is called target fixation, which is when you see an obstacle, if you stare at it, your mind will follow your eyes. Right. And he drove right into the poor guy on the bicycle.
What?
And so it turned into this viral video. It was on all the television shows and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah. That's insane.
It's insane, but you can learn a lot if you really want to learn how to ride and learn how to corner. You can learn a lot by watching these videos. Go down into the comment section, and there's a bunch of geeks like me that have been to racing school that will just pick it apart.
Man, you should have done this. You shouldn't have done that kind of thing.
Yes. Well, it's very helpful.
And informative for sure.
The first thing that you learn, stay away from that corner.
Right. Go around. Around.
Motorcycles are dropped there every weekend. It's full of antifreeze and oil and gear lube and every other kind of automotive fluid. It's all bumpy. Just stay away from there. Stay away from Malibu.
Right. Don't even go to Malibu.
Yeah, go out to the forest. Go up. You know where you want to go. Go up beyond Ojai. Okay. Take the 33 up there. Go past Ojai, and it's just mountains now, and it's absolutely fantastic. You can ride for 2 hours.
That's awesome. And there's very few people.
All there is just cops over here and there telling motorcyclists to slow down.
Yeah, that's it. Greg Fideler, this has been an hour, first of all. And I didn't even ever ask you about automatic versus stick. That's why
they have that now.
Right, they have automatic motorcycles now, and that's why because I always wanted a motorcycle, but it was always a thing in my family. We're like, no, Mom was killed on one. Nobody can ever have one. And I was like, she wasn't even driving, and I don't drink, so why can't I have a motorcycle?
Yeah, and that's something I'm going to have to deal with my kid when he's old enough. Yep. What are the odds that he's going to say, Dad, I want a motorcycle?
When he's 14, he's going to want a Honda 80.
He's not going to make it to 14 before he asks for a motorcycle. He's probably going to be about 7.
7. Well,
but yeah, and that's just just something that you have to deal with. I think if you understand something, right, but you respect it, you can deal with it.
Yeah, if you treat everything with respect, you should be able to use it longer.
Oh, it scares the hell out of me that the number of years that I rode around before I took the racing lessons.
That racing thing.
And you realize I knew absolutely nothing about how to ride a motorcycle.
Can you fix motorcycles?
I can, and I'm at that point in my life where I've given up on it. I
Right,
pay
you don't
people.
want to? Yes.
It's hard to do, and every time I've worked on my motorcycle,
Yeah.
I put it back together. There's 2 screws left over, and it just bothers me as I ride around.
Well, it ought.
So I stopped doing that, and although I took my bike to, well, I'll just say it, Hollywood BMW.
Okay.
And they had to take the whole thing apart because BMW is German, and they do this stupid thing where when they design this bike, they put a gasket on it that if you don't ride it all the time, it doesn't get lubricated, the gasket dries out, and then you have to replace the $2 gasket, which is the thing between the motor and the transmission. So you have to take the motor and the transmission completely off the bike, and it costs you $1,800 to do that.
Yeah.
So I took it to Hollywood BMW, and they did that. And a couple days later, and this is something you learn, when you walk up to your bike, you look at it before you get on it. You walk around it and you look at it, and I look down, and the bolt that holds the back wheel on was loose. Like I could twist it with my fingers.
What? No, that's...
there's a big final drive that there was a bolt on the back wheel that I could twist with my fingers.
Yes.
And that should never happen.
That should never happen. And how do you, when you take it to the Hollywood BMW or wherever, you have to ride it there, right? Or do you have
you can tow it there, but in
trailer,
this instant, it's just, it was rideable when I,
And so you rode it home with a bolt that then the next time you went on it was untwistable with your own fingers.
Yeah, I rode it for a couple days like that.
Oh, gee. Yeah, not cool. Ladies and gentlemen, Greg Fideler, hire him, find him, and listen to this episode, which you already have, it turns out. I'm Jackie Cation. That's Greg Fideler. You've listened to the Dork Forest. You know the rules out there. Take care of each other. Bye.
My hat, my hat, my hat. They're dancing around my hat, my hat, my hat, my hat. Well, what do you think of that? If it looks like a Mexican hat dance and it sounds like a Mexican hat dance, it's most likely a Mexican hat dance. So take off your hat and let's dance.
Yay! Oh my God. Why don't we just call that as the end of the show?